the plane that wouldn't let them rest, ghost of Flight 401. It was supposed to be a routine flight. 200 miles from Miami, everything was normal. But in less than 4 minutes, this plane would crash into a swamp, and the men who died on it would refuse to leave. This is the true story of Eastern Airlines Flight 401, and the ghosts that haunted the sky for 2 years afterward. On December 29, 1972, a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar jet took off from JFK Airport in New York, heading to Miami. On board were 163 passengers and 13 crew members, including Captain Robert Loft, a 29-year veteran pilot, and flight engineer Donald Repo. As the plane approached Miami for landing, a single ember light on the control panel refused to turn on, the landing gear indicator. It was a small malfunction, but it became an obsession. The entire crew fixated on that one light, checking it again and again, completely unaware that somewhere in that confusion, someone's elbow had nudged the autopilot switch off. The plane was losing altitude. Slowly. Silently. Nobody noticed. The Florida Everglades below were pitch black, no lights, no horizon, nothing to warn the pilots they were dropping out of the sky. At 11:42 p.m., Flight 401 slammed into the swamp at over 200 miles per hour. The plane was torn apart instantly. 101 people died that night, including Captain Loft and flight engineer Repo. It was one of the deadliest crashes in American aviation history. Investigators later found the cause was painfully simple: the crew had been so distracted by a 50-cent light bulb that they forgot to fly the plane. But this is where the story should have ended. It didn't. Eastern Airlines salvaged usable parts from the wreckage of Flight 401, the wiring, the ovens, the flight equipment, and installed them into other L-1011 aircraft still flying passengers every single day. And that's when the sightings began. On one flight, a flight attendant was told a passenger in first class needed medical attention. She rushed over and found a man in a pilot's uniform sitting silently, unresponsive to every question. She called the captain. The captain took one look at the man's face and went pale. It was Bob Loft. The same Bob Loft who had died in the Everglades months earlier. When they turned to get security, the man was gone. He wasn't on the passenger manifest. He had never boarded the plane. This wasn't the only sighting. On a separate flight, an engineer preparing for takeoff heard loud knocking from beneath the cockpit floor. He opened the maintenance hatch, and found Don Repo staring back up at him. Before he could react, the face vanished. Shaken, the engineer inspected the circuit anyway. He found a serious electrical fault that could have caused a fire mid-flight. Don had warned him. Reports kept coming in. Crew members saw Repo calmly sitting at the flight engineer's station before flights even began, only for him to disappear the moment someone spoke to him. One captain refused to fly an aircraft after seeing Bob Loft complete his own pre-flight checklist, a checklist Bob had physically already finished, on a plane he had never been assigned to. Flight attendants working the galley on aircraft number 318, the plane that had received Flight 401's salvaged oven, reported an ice-cold presence that made no sense in a kitchen full of running ovens. Some described a glowing orb with a human face hovering silently in the dark cabin during overnight flights. For 18 months, this continued. Pilots began requesting different aircraft. Some crew members turned to Ouija boards, desperate to understand why their dead colleagues wouldn't leave. Eastern Airlines never officially confirmed any of it. Publicly, they denied everything. But quietly, in 1974, they removed every single salvaged part from Flight 401 out of their entire fleet. The sightings stopped completely overnight. Author John G. Fuller investigated dozens of these accounts and published them in 1976 in a book called The Ghost of Flight 401. It became a bestseller and was even turned into a television film. Not everyone believes the story. Some former Eastern employees and aviation historians have called it exaggerated, even fabricated for publicity. But here's the detail that keeps the story alive even 50 years later. In all the years Eastern Airlines flew the L-1011 TriStar after that crash, until the airline shut down completely, there was never another fatal crash on that aircraft type again. Some say Bob and Don kept their promise. They said they'd never let it happen again. And they didn't. If you were a passenger on one of those flights, would you have noticed the man in the pilot's uniform sitting beside you?